For the task 6, we are going to go to API/v1/views/init.py, and we are going to import import state. We're going to import state using the wildcard, and then we're going to go ahead to create state in the views directory. So inside this views directory, let me do it from here. Inside the views that I'm going to create state touch API v1. This state.py, I think, yeah. So now if I go here, I'll open states, then so here we are going to start to first create a route called states, and this route is going to be returning a list of all the instances of states that is created. So I'll say app views dot route, and the route is going to be states, and it's going to be get method. Let's add this street slashes option and set it to false. And then the function will be get states, and then first we are going to try to get all the state objects from the storage by calling the all method. So say storage dot all, and then we pass in states, then we need the values, and then we are going to use a list comprehension to convert the objects to dictionaries and then to a list. So I say state list will be equal to, I'm using a list comprehension, I'll say for state in states, then I'll call the to dict method of state to convert it to a valid dictionary, and then this is going to be returned that is a list. I hope you are familiar with list comprehension. And then finally, we are going to return the list of the states as a JSON payload by calling the JSONify from Flask and then passing the state list. And then we go ahead to import state and JSONify from Flask. But JSONify, and then from models dot state import state, and then also import storage from models import storage. Am I missing something else? Okay, have to import, say, from API dot v1 dot views. We import app views. Okay, so we are going to be creating another route for retrieving a specific state object by its ID. That is, the route is going to be expecting an ID, and when the ID comes, we're going to use it to retrieve the state object that has that ID. So say app views the route, which is going to take in the route's name, and this route is expecting an ID, which is going to be the state ID, and the method is get method. So we don't need to specify this is get, and get is the default method. We put this three slashes as false, and then the function name, and this function is going to take an ID as a parameter, and then we are going to use the get method that we created in tax 2 to get the state object with the given ID from the storage. So we pass in state, and then the state ID, that is the state ID that is coming from the route. And then if state is found, we are going to pass it to JSONify after calling to dict method on it, and then we return it. And then if state is not found, we call abort error, which is going to return our custom um, error handler for 404. And of course, we import abort from Flask, and then we have to return this. So again, we are going to create another route for deleting a specific state when the ID is given. So let me push this down. So in the same way, let me just copy this. So I'll copy this, and here we are going to specify the method, which is going to be a delete method. Is going to be delete method, and then the name of it is going to be delete state, and am I missing something? Okay, so as usual, we are going to retrieve all of the very state objects by taking in the ID from the route and passing it to the get method. And then if a state is found, we are going to delete the state object from the storage by calling storage.delete. So we call storage.delete, and then we pass the state that is found to it, and then we call storage.save to persist the change, and then we return JSONify by, and then passing an empty dictionary to say that okay, we've deleted this, and then 200 status code. But If state is not found, we are going to abort with 404 status code. And then again, we are going to be creating another route for creating a new state object. So this one is going to be a post method. It's going to take in data, and when we receive the data, we are going to use it to create from scratch a complete new state object. So I'll go here and I'll copy this, say from I'll copy this, and this you are not expecting any ID, and the method is going to be post, and it's going to be the name of the function will be create state, and we are not expecting any ID. So first thing we are going to do is to put a check that the data coming from the client or user is of a JSON type, because that's what we are expecting for this API. And we are going to say if request dot content type, if it's not an application slash JSON, we are going to return abort with 400 status code, and then with a message not a JSON. So the content type can be found in request. And then again, we are going to check that the data can be transformed into a dictionary. So we say if not request dot get JSON, the method is coming from Flask too. So we are also abort with 400 and with a message not a JSON. And then if the data is of type JSON, we are going to use the get JSON from Flask to convert it to a dictionary. So we are going to name this as keyword argument, and then we get the data from get JSON, converting it to a dictionary, and then we are going to check if the dictionary has a key that is called name in it. So we're going to say if name not in keyword argument. So if this data from the client does not have a key that is called name, we are going to abort with 400 and then with a message missing name. And if all these checks are passed, we are going to create a new state object with the dictionary data. We call it state is equal to state, and then we unpack this keyword argument, and then we save the state by calling save.save, and then finally return the newly created state object in the JSON format with 201 status code. So we return the sonify state.to date, and then a 200 status code. So let's go and import request from Flask. And then next one is a route that will be used to update an existing state by taking the ID from the route and then also taking the data from the client. So I'll copy this to, and then it's going to be expecting a state ID, and the method is going to be put method, and then name of the function is going to be update state, and it's going to take state ID, and then we are going to do the same thing. We are going to check we put the going to check that the data coming from the client to user is of JSON type. If it's not of JSON type, we return with about 400 and a message not JSON. Should be request. Oh. Then we are going to get the state object with the given ID from the route. So we say state is equal to, you say storage.get, that's the get method, and we pass in state, and then we pass in the state ID, and then if state is found, we are going to ensure that the data is transformable to a dictionary, that is the data that is coming from the user that maybe the user or client wants to update to. So we're going to say if not request dot get JSON, we are going to return with about 400 not JSON, and then we are going to retrieve the JSON data from the request. So I'll say data this, and then we are going to create a list of attributes that we are not going to be allowing the user or client to update, and we are going to call them ignore keys, and it's going to be a list. First one is ID, second one is created that, and then the third one is updated that. And then we are going to iterate through the data from the request. This data, we are going to iterate through it. We say for key value in data dot items. So now that we are iterating through the data, we are going to check to make sure that the data pass, that the key is not among the ignore keys. So we are going to say if key is not in ignore keys, then we are going to use search attribute method to update the attribute. Use the search attribute, pass in the state, and then pass in the key and then the value. And then we call state.save to persist these changes, and then we return the updated state object in JSON format. JSON file state.call to dict method with the status code of 200. And then if this content type is not a JSON, we are going to abort with 404. Now we are going to test this. What happened there? From um, from API views init.py. Okay, so it's running. Let's check this one. So we are going to first test the state route, which is supposed to return the list of state that we have. So if we check this, okay. So when you are using call, you have to set this to localhost or 127.0.0.1. So if we try again, you see that we have about 3 states: Lagos, Nairobi, and then California. And then we are going to access this route, which is expecting a state ID, and we should go to the storage and return that state for us. So this is expecting a state ID. Let's grab Nairobi. So I've passed the state ID and I press enter. So you see that we've returned the state, and then we are going to try to create a new state from scratch. mm, by accessing this state, but it's going to be of post method. Let me copy this. I'll paste it here, and I'll go here. And I'll update this to localhost. You see that we have another state, California. I think maybe I should rename this one to something else. I'll actually do Maldives, and we see that we have Maldives, and then we are going to test these methods, the put method, which will take a state ID and then modify one of the attributes. So I use the example here. So I'll put this Maldives, and then followed by this. So we want to rename Maldives to California is so cool. So if I press enter, oh, I forgot to update this again. So cool. So if I press enter, you see that the name is now California is so cool. And if I should go, if I should pass this ID, and then this will be a get method. Let's see if we can find it again. So we see that we retrieved it and the name is still California is so cool. And then we're going to try to delete it. And the delete method here, we expect an ID. So we are going to delete this California is so cool. Then if I go to here, I set the HTTP method to delete. So we see that after deleting, you're expecting to get an empty dictionary. And then if I try to use the get method to retrieve this state that we just deleted, let's see what we are going to get. See that we got not found because in this route where we are passing the state ID to retrieve the state, if it's not found, we receive abort 404 with the customized error message. So that is it for this task.